Winter, you have to stay here for it.
I would have taken it.
All right, so look, just be vigilant if you have a declaration of interest today. Is there anything to declare at the moment? If not, feel free to just declare it at the time of the item. So we'll move into public participation in the public forum today. I'm just changing the order slightly by request. So we'll have, first of all, Anne Satterthwaite, followed by Ingrid Mesman, who want to speak to us about fluoride, and then we'll have Debbie Mora, who wants to speak to us about chlorine. So, Anne Satterthwaite. And I'd just like to, before you begin, just to remind the public that this is not a council decision. It's not in our hands to fluoride or not, but you're welcome to come and speak to us and to the wider city of Christchurch through this forum. So welcome, Anne.
Thank you. And good morning, everybody.
Could you please put your mic on?
It is on.
Push a button.
There we are. You're on now. You're on.
Is that all right?
That's it.
okay. So in the 1970s, I worked as a school dental nurse when New Zealand had a clinic in every primary school, giving checkups and dental treatment to all pre- and primary school children. I saw very few cavities and worked with the teachers in the schools to give the children oral and nutritional education, along with free toothbrushes, as part of my job. I left the dental nursing service to go overseas, and on my return, the government had virtually done away with the service, their reasoning being that the children's teeth were so good there was no longer a need. We had no mass fluoridation back then. We did have a free-to-all children dental service, though. Today it is widely known and well documented that fluoride is toxic, a hazard to humans and the environment. In the 1930s, the aluminium industry was the biggest polluter, having to pay tens and thousands of dollars in lawsuits from their toxic waste of fluoride chemicals. To stop continually being fined and to avoid liability, the industry came up with an ingenious idea. Let's promote fluoride as a health benefit. More recently, it's the phosphate fertilizer industry giving us chemicals such as fluorosilicic acid, sodium silicofluoride, and sodium fluoride. Most widely used of these is the fluorosilicic acid as a corrosive chemical that will love chewing holes in your hot water tank, similar to the chlorine we currently have. The additional toxicity to this one is its ability to combine with chlorinated compounds and leach lead from brass joints and water pipes, giving rise to high levels in our blood. Under Three Waters, Ashley Bloomfield requested all city water in New Zealand be fluoridated to lower tooth decay and reduce hospital admissions for tooth decay in children. I'm asking why. Why aren't the Ministry of Health spending the cost to put this toxic substance in our water on promoting good nutritional health to ensure children have cavity-free teeth? Surely education around sugary drinks would be a better start, along with promoting twice-daily teeth cleaning. There's an overwhelming body of scientific and statistical evidence that doesn't support fluoridation for reducing tooth decay. It doesn't prevent cavities. It's toxic to the body even at what is considered low doses, around 0.5 parts per million. It's comparable to lead poisoning. Fluoride is not a nutrient. It isn't necessary for human health. It doesn't enhance the water supply, so putting it in the water can only be considered a supplemented medication. The International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicity has classified fluoride as an unapproved dental medicament due to its high toxicity. And this is referenced, you will have that actually printed out for you. In the USA, the Supreme Court ruled fluoridation in water supplies as compulsory medical treatment, taking away people's free choice, and the FDA has classified fluoride as a drug. Here in New Zealand, our somewhat trampled on Bill of Rights, Article 10, the right not to be subjected to medical or scientific experimentation, says every person has the right not to be subjected to medical and scientific experimentation without that person's consent. So where is our consent? Do we have it? Would an OIA request supply me with it? Most at risk are bottle-fed babies, kidney patients, athletes, all of whom consume higher amounts of drinking water, resulting in high amounts of fluoride. It adversely affects the body's microbiome, interfering with digestion, causing gut issues. It's an endocrine disruptor affecting the thyroid gland and calcifies the pineal, promoting depression, weight gain, cancer, and overall brain underdevelopment. It passes the blood-brain barrier, leading to neurological problems such as autism, ADHD, cognitive impairment, causing Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and decreased IQ in children whose brains are still forming. A press release by the Fluoride Action Network shows that a team led by Dr. Janeth Kumar, a dental surgeon, member of the American Dental Association, conducted a meta-analysis of the scientific literature on fluoride's neurotoxicity and found a link between fluoride exposure and cognitive health, resulting in lower IQ in children. And this was at low levels, concluding that no level is safe.
Anne, you're at your time. Can you wind up?
So, okay. A recent study in the New Zealand Journal of Natural Medicine gives 50 reasons why not putting fluoride in the drinking water. It points out that no disease has ever been linked to fluoride. Fluoridating water is discontinued in many countries and made a legal substance in China, Austria, Belgium, Germany, Denmark, Norway, Finland, Japan, and Netherlands. So why would New Zealand promote it and above giving sound nutritional health?
Thank you. That's your time, Anne.
I've just got one sentence.
Okay,
right?
one sentence, go.
I shout once again to Ashley Bloomfield and to the Christchurch City Council is, where is our consent? You need our consent. I, for one, do not consent to have my drinking water poisoned with this toxic substance. How about you?
Thank you. Thank you, Anne. Ingrid Messman, also on fluoridation, also understanding that it's not the council's choice. Go ahead. I'm sorry I have to be quite strict on the time because we've got a few people speaking today and an agenda to get through.
Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity to talk. I come as your ally, not as your adversary. This mandatory fluoridation law was introduced by the National Government in 2016, where decisions on fluoridation were moved from the District Health Board, as you know, to the, and then in 2020 to the Director General of Health. These steps cut out any opportunity for local authorities and ratepayers to have any subsequent say in any fluoridation. So the communique from Ashley Bloomfield in July sent directives explaining what steps the Director General took to come to his decision. This information was scant with no actual fillings, with no indication of actual fillings reduced. That's forcing medication on the whole population, isn't it? The Cochrane Review of 2015 said the only research it could find on the supposed benefit of fluoridation were all prior to 1975 and may not be relevant today. And the worrying fact was that when the Health Committee, Select Committee, had submissions in 2017, there was 1,200 comments heard and many oral presentations to keep fluoride out of the drinking water due to its toxicity. Is the council's intention to subject, by default, the populace to exposure to a noxious substance without their consent in contravention of Section 119 of the Health Act 1956? By shifting the responsibility from the local councils, the Director General of Health is making it impossible to stop fluoridation and keep it out of communities that have said no in the past, adding that local councils will face stiff fines for non-compliance. I believe it is not the council's desire to fluoridate the drinking water in Christchurch. However, I challenge you, as our representatives, to stand up for our rights under the Crimes Act 1961, Section 145, criminal nuisance, and challenge the government, Her Majesty the Queen and the right of New Zealand, on the grounds that fluoridation mandates will affect the safety and health of all individuals, your constituents. Currently, New Zealand have 14 areas of mandatory fluoridation and 27 under active consideration. When Christchurch falls into the active consideration, what will you do? all right, will you are you going to action your right of review, all right, and repeal through the Water Services Act 2021? Will you seek consultation through the Local Government Act 2002, Section 82, directing councils to consult with anyone who will or may be affected by any decision or matter? It is likely fluoride poses health risks, right? And the standard of likely to has been defined by the courts as a real, not fanciful possibility, but not requiring greater than 50% probability. The proof that the Director General suggests is necessary has been demonstrated repeatedly in international scientific journals, one of which the National Toxicology Report was released in May 2022, supported by studies here in New Zealand. So the burden of proof has been met, and now the Director General must provide evidence, peer-reviewed and scientific backed, right, to show that it's relevant. It's irrelevant whether fluoridation reduces tooth decay or not. Once a risk has been established, Section 23, it does not allow for trade-offs for harm with alleged benefit. So our Health Department recommendation stated as the duty of local authorities in respect to public health to improve, promote and protect, and if satisfied that any condition is likely to be injurious to health, all proper steps are to be taken to secure the abatement of the nuisance or removal of the condition. Is the Council's intention to follow the Health Department recommendations? Should the main priority for the Council with improving healthy drinking water be our nitrate level uptake? I applaud the Council's initiative to explore the costs involved in the treatment of our water for nitrates. Currently in parts of Canterbury the levels are 16 milligrams per litre, with 6 milligram being linked to bowel and rectal cancer. In conclusion, I feel treating our water uptake levels, our nitrate uptake levels, is a better use of Christchurch ratepayers' money than water fluoridation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ingrid, for all the work you've put into that public forum. Much appreciated. Debbie Mora, once again, you're speaking on chlorine, which is also not our council decision. So, fire away.
Thank you. Good morning. Chlorine. I'd firstly like to say that I appreciate the work the staff have done thus far in negotiating exemptions, as this, I understand, is very, very difficult to navigate. 6 years ago, you were told by the Health Department to upgrade your pipe work, etc., so as to comply to have no more chlorine added. $50 to $60 million later, central government moved the goalposts and now forcing chlorination. And that's without public consultation or any risk analysis assessments being completed on the harm effects of continual ingestion of chlorination in our water supplies to us. I understand we're using sodium hypochlorite in liquid form is what you are using. It kills bacteria in our water pipes, but it also kills our good gut bacteria. There are many reports that stipulate that chlorine, no matter how little is used, over long-term ingestion is harmful to our bodies. I presented a risk analysis assessment to some councillors and mayor some weeks ago that was prepared by a specialist matter expert on the topic, which highlighted that simply monitoring our water supplies is sufficient. E.g., if anything abnormal is detected, then you can chlorinate and put out your boil water notices on a temporary measure. There is risk whether you chlorinate or not chlorinate, but to permanently chlorinate when harm is happening all the time to many in our community due to chlorination, which is a fact, is in my opinion unnecessary when you can simply monitor. No public consultation was made to all of Christchurch's residents on what is considered a very major issue, flushing this chloride into the most pure water in the world. I recently requested a risk analysis assessment here in Christchurch, whether one had been done under the Official Information Act. The response I received was no, as it's legislative. So I went to the source of that legislation, central government. They too came back saying, I can advise that the Office of the Prime Minister does not hold any information relevant to my request. However, I believe the requested information is more closely connected to the function of Te Mara Arawai. So they forwarded my request to Te Mara Arawai. Te Mara Arawai's response in part was, since Te Mara Arawai became the water services regulator, we have not prepared any risk analysis reports on chlorination of drinking water supplies. So in summary, I'm bewildered that where the directive has come from central government and central government agencies, they themselves have not had any risk analysis assessment done on the harm of continual chlorination in our water supplies to human ingestion. I and others wish to protect our purest water in the world and offer this to our children and grandchildren and future generations to enjoy what we have all enjoyed. I'm therefore asking that you, as Christchurch City councillors, who hold this weight of responsibility, to request the cessation of chlorination immediately due to the following 5 reasons. 1. The lack of any risk analysis assessments done by any of the leading government organisations instructing such, therefore lacking evidence for their instruction to you. 2. The harm to many residents already taking place. 3. The harm to long-term ingestion. 4. The lack of any public consultation. 5. And to preserve what we have been blessed with, our God-given purest water supplies in the world over many, many years. Simply monitor to detect and keep our pure water supplies. That's a win for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Thanks, Debbie. Thanks for your passion. Very welcome. So, all right, move on to the Sea Cleaners Trust.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Sorry, just before you speak, I'd just like to remind everybody that as of the Nuremberg trial,
Excuse me, I'm welcoming Hayden Smith to the table, and can you begin, please, Hayden? It's your presentation now. Can you please sit down? I'll have to ask you to leave the room. Can we get someone to escort this gentleman out of the room, please? I apologise, Hayden. All right, you may begin.
Kia ora, tēnā koutou katoa. Ko hikaroa te maonga, ko waikuiti te awa, ko pukaturiki te marae, ko ngā tahu te iwi, ko Hayden Smith, tāko ingoa. I have grown up in the South Island, however my parents moved me to Auckland and Northland many years ago, and I am the founding trustee of the Sea Cleaners Trust. And if we go back to go forward also 20 years ago, when we launched this program, I've been cleaning up Auckland's Waitemata Harbour, by which we've been out on a full-time basis, cleaning up our coast, engaging communities, and removing rubbish on a full-time basis from our waters. Since that work began, and certainly 10 years into that journey, 10, 11, 12 years into that journey, we decided to start multiplying what we were doing around the rest of the country. And this year marks the first chance that we've had to actually move a vessel and a crew full-time into here, working into the Canterbury region, based in Littleton Harbour. And I know I see here on my desktop that the quarterly report here that I've circulated for all of you to see. Certainly I don't have time to be able to go through all of that for you, but in the first instance to be able to share with you just some of the statistics of what we've seen. And in the last particular quarter, the crew here, in line with what we have seen with all of the other territories that we do work in, the volumes of waste that we are picking up are consistent. Wherever there's a population centre, we are finding waste in our waters, in our shorelines, and out on the space. And for the team here in Christchurch, they pulled out over 163,000 litres of rubbish in that particular quarter. To try and put the volume into perspective for you, that's over 5 shipping containers full of loose litter that we've pulled out of the shores here in that particular last quarter that they've been working. So the evidence is clear, the issue is clear, it is consistent again with what we've seen elsewhere around the country, and the chance to be able to share with you here. Obviously, we are a charitable trust, we rely on donations and sponsorship. To date, the funding that we have raised here in Canterbury is around $175,000. We know each year we need to raise $300,000 to support what we're doing. In the first instance, we've had support from the Rata Foundation, from Nestle, from Whakaora, from the Coca-Cola Foundation, and, excuse me, whilst I just check on the others, Environment Canterbury has been another as well. With regards to what we are collecting, and this is a real challenge for me and for our organisation in the first instance, is that the waste we're collecting, wherever we are collecting this waste, we have usually had free rite of passage to be able to dispose of that waste free of charge through the waste facilities. Over this whole entire year, we've been having to pay to have all of that rubbish that we've collected disposed of through your channels of waste disposal. So with that, actually, and to add further, sorry, I do know that there has been $10,000 from the City Council added to our budget as well. But at the same time, just wanted to really give you an indication of what we're doing, what we're trying to do. We don't want to stop our teams. I know that over the next 3 months, we are relying on our own GST returns for the Charitable Trust to actually fund the work here in Christchurch to carry on. But we do need to open up a channel of communication with you to hopefully be able to lean on you, not only through support of the council, but through your partnering organisations and networks to help us try and find that level of support to be able to continue on doing what we're doing. So I know we've got a minute left, but I was hoping to try and leave that for any questions that you may have of what we are doing as well, if there is any. Thank you.
How many thousand tonnes did you say you get out of Christchurch?
At the moment, it's 163,000 litres per quarter that we're pulling out.
Well, what's that in tonnes?
Every 50 litres is 7 kilos. With regards to shipping containers full, it's over 5 shipping containers full of waste is what we're pulling. And the reason we haven't measured it in tonnes is because the plastics and the polystyrene that we're collecting, the volume completely outweighs the weight almost with the size and the perspective
Yeah, I know,
of what
it's
we're
just
doing.
that we have a value per tonne that it
Correct.
costs us too, so it'd be nice to know that. Any other questions? Aaron, and then Tim, if we've got time.
Just quickly, how much was your dumping bill?
At the moment, I believe it's around, on an annual cost, it's around about 60,000 a year.
With us?
Yep, with that is the standard
Christchurch,
cost
yeah.
across and yes, in Christchurch.
Is that 6?
These in Christchurch or across the country?
In Christchurch, in each region that we're working.
Okay, cool.
It's 6-0.
6-0.
Yeah, and through you, Chair, I see the CE writing down notes. She obviously looking into it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Good presentation. Thank you very
Tim.
much. And good work. Right, moving to Chris Herbert for Our Stories Project Trust. Welcome.
Thank you. Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Chris Herbert aho. I'm the director of Our Stories Project Trust, and I'm here today really just to give you an overview of the work that we do and how it aligns with your council priorities. So this is the first sentence of the top priority of the Christchurch City Council, and it's a really lovely sentiment. I think the benefits here of happier, healthier, more productive, resilient, they're tangible and they're worthwhile. So how do we do that? How do we create more connected communities? In my experience, connection comes from shared experiences. It comes from empathy and from understanding each other. And this is really at the core of what Our Stories Project does. And the incredibly powerful tool that we use to deliver those experiences is storytelling. So Our Stories is a registered charity, and our mission is to connect communities through storytelling and to make local history accessible. So I'd like to walk you through these two parts of our mission. Connecting communities through storytelling. And often it looks like what you see here, which is a little bit hard to see, but is primary and intermediate age children interviewing people from their local communities. So for the kids, this is a chance to learn interviewing skills. It's a chance to develop empathy and listening skills. And these are really important skills which are actually quite hard to teach. It's also a chance for first-hand local history experiences for the kids. And for the people being interviewed, it's a chance to be heard and to connect. And I'm told over and over again by people who come in how much they value having the opportunity to share their stories. My favorite interview was in Littleton a few years ago. 3 teenage boys and a 98-year-old woman. When she arrived, she was a bit bemused. She sort of said, "Oh, I don't know if I've got much to say." And then she sat there during this hour with the kids, and she told about how she sent her husband and her father and her brother off to the Second World War, and they all came back, thankfully. She talked about strike, port lockouts. She talked about polio outbreaks, and I watched these 3 boys in their black hoodies with their jaws dropping and just really in awe of this woman. When the interview finished, she said to me, and she seemed a bit surprised, "They're such lovely boys." And I thought, she is not going to look at teenage boys in the same way, and they're not going to look at old ladies in the same way anymore. So that was a pretty special moment. The second part of what we do is making local history accessible. And this is where we take the hours and hours of oral history that we collect and we edit it into tiny little bite-sized stories that are designed to be heard in the places that they relate to. So we now have 42 stories on our story map, and we have 3 self-guided audio walks. So you can walk the central city and you can hear memories of the earthquakes. You can walk Lancaster Park and hear memories of the Springbok tour. Or you could come to Littleton and walk through the cemetery and hear the legend of the Goat Man, which is a story that was told by more than a dozen of our interview subjects. And as far as I'm aware, it's not been recorded anywhere else. So our mission this year is to connect more people to these stories. And that is why I'm here. So I'd like to acknowledge the things we're already doing with the council. So we're really grateful for support through the Intangible Heritage Trust. We're partnered with the Christchurch City Council, with the libraries who hold some of our archive. And our stories are available on the SmartView app. I have registered for us to be part of Heritage Week, and I've contacted the Christchurch Walking Festival. So I hope that gives you a little bit of an overview of what we've done. My ask is really that we just keep our minds open on how we can work together towards this shared goal of more connected communities. Kia ora, thank you, and happy to take any questions.
Kia ora. What a wonderful project. Tyrone.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Kia ora, Chris, and thank you so much for the incredible work you've done around Littleton.
Thank you.
Sorry, you just mentioned the Goat Man. That's given me the giggles. The Goat Man, for those of you who won't know, was the person that terrified young children around Littleton throughout. God, I don't know, what was the time span on that?
Are you spoiling it though?
Right. Anyway, you'll find out for yourself.
Yeah.
Did we ever find out who the Goat Man was?
Yeah, there's a continuing story because my father played golf recently with someone who was the Goat Man's brother. So we need to get this person in because this was the kids' absolute favorite story, and they would have all these list of questions, and they'd just go, "Do you know about the Goat Man?" So
This is very triggering for me, Chris.
yeah.
Oh, thank you so
Kia ora,
much for
thank you
coming
so
and
much.
sharing that. That's awesome. Right. So Anne Smith, Community Patrols, please. Another wonderful organisation. Welcome. Thank you.
Using the arrow keys. Which arrow? Oh, there we go. That worked. It was just a wee bit slow. Sorry about that. It must be early in the morning.
Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Mary Chappell, and I'm the patrol leader for the Christchurch North Community Patrol. With me this morning are Ken Bide from the Christchurch South Community Patrol, and Hornby's Anne Smith, who is also the District Coordinator for the Canterbury Patrols. We are part of a national organisation, the Community Patrols of New Zealand, CPNZ, which oversees all patrols throughout Aotearoa. All members of the patrols are volunteers who work with the police in pursuit of a common goal, namely to build safer communities together. CPNZ ensures patrollers are of good character through the vetting process by making sure the patrollers are aware of their roles and by providing the requisite training to carry those roles out. Nationwide, we have 150 affiliated patrols involving about 4,000 patrollers. In the Christchurch metropolitan area, there are 7 patrols. They are Burwood Pegasus, Christchurch North, Christchurch South, City Park, City to Sumner, Hornby and Riccarton. In each patrol, we have between 30 to 50 volunteers who are rostered on in 3 or 4 hour shifts to cover our city in their distinctively marked cars, which have been provided through grants, donations and fundraising. Each patrol has their own roughly designated area and they cooperate to best serve the community.
And that's a group of us. I'm Ken. At the 25th celebrations, 3 patrols actually predated CPNZ, the national organisation, and we had a celebration for those patrols and just recalling and celebrating what we do. So if we have a look at what we do, it's about working closely with the police. It's doing those planned patrols that we talk about. But the key thing is the extra eyes and ears. The police, as we know, are not everywhere and are not often out there where people want them to be. Well, we are there to support them. The observing, recording and reporting is key. And I thought you might be interested in some figures on this one. We had a quick look at the June figures, and we've got figures for 5 patrols. There were just over 1,000 hours of patrolling just in June from those 5 patrols, and there were over 6,000 Ks travelled, and that doesn't include the sitting up and the looking, which is also so important. But we don't just do those things, we do those regular reports to the police from what we see and from what the people tell us. We are, in that sense, that extra set of information. We also assist at things like the A&P show and the Santa Parade and the like, and you'll see some photos of that soon. And something perhaps you didn't know is we also have in the past provided some support in the time of emergencies. And these are just some examples of the kind of things that we've been involved in. We've taken these photographs while on patrol. The top left there is Christchurch North. They came across that stolen car just before it was about to be set on fire. Christchurch North also, that bottom one, we are not infrequently on the scene of accidents because of when we're out there. Top right, you'll be aware last year there was a real concern about break-ins to vehicles at the likes of walking track car parks, and that is Christchurch South out at the quarry. The bottom one is rather interesting. There are late night patrols on a Saturday night. That's Hereford Street, just along from the Rockpool Bar, where one patrol was on the scene of a major brawl followed by a major assault. Again, we are therefore able to contact the police and just support the emergency people on site. This is cooperating with the police. We've got Safe R plates, which is about replacing the plates. We've got tools, engraving, and of course that's monitoring boy races down below. And there's some special events that we're at, and I'll flip to the last one. There's the emergencies, and now it's Anne. Very quick.
30 seconds, yeah. So there's there's key factors that mean that we can be successful, and we're well aware that we need to maintain our volunteers, and we had a very successful plug the other day from police who put us on the website, on their Facebook page rather, and we are well supported by local council, so we thank you for that. We have ongoing training from the police, and we have modules that we do with CPNZ. We do cost a few dollars to run. Our vehicles are between 40 and 50,000, which we like to turn over every 3 years, plus uniforms and communications in our car. And we do want to develop closer relationships with the agencies. So thank you. Thank you. That was really interesting. I had no idea of the number of people involved in that. You see one car driving around and you're tempted to think it's one, but you've told us much more detail than that, so that's really interesting.
The support you gave us for the page that went into the Star was most gratefully received and has led to significant responses. So thank you so much for what you've done, and long may it continue.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. All right, so now we move on to 3.2, our deputations, and we have first up Craig Watson from the Cancer Society. Morena, Craig.
Morena. Kia ora koutou, ko Craig Watson, Tokaringua. I'm really excited to be here today as the Pou Whiranaki, so as the Service Delivery Manager for the Cancer Society. May as well call it as is. I recognise in the staff report we're not likely to get the funding, so I guess I'm here to say hi and kill you with PowerPoint presentations, but also I guess to talk a little bit about our mahi and thank you for all the support you've given us over the years too. So I'll whip through these. There'll be a lot of yellow for you. I guess it's... No? Cool, good. Many of you will know kaupapa and what we do, but I think it's just important to always reflect back on our why. So the Cancer Society, Canterbury West Coast, is here to lessen the impact of cancer for our communities in Ototahi and actually across the South Island. And not here to talk about it today, but we're actually looking to merge to become one entity for the South Island, because that's what our cancer patients have, and that's what we think we should reflect as well. So yeah, every year, at the moment, around 9,000 people will stay in our current cancer centres, and we think it will probably increase in the new one, as well as we support several thousand people across the motu. So as some of you will know, our facilities, like many, were damaged in the earthquakes, and I think became part of the East Frame from memory. And so we provided our accommodation services through 2 former motels, and they still look like 1970s motels on Riccarton and Papanui roads, as well as we've had leased premises for our offices. The community's need, our supports grow year on year as unfortunately or fortunately our population ages and the incidence of cancer increases. We know, and we are working really hard to better reflect the inequalities we see on a day-to-day basis around rurality, around populations who are poorly served or have poor outcomes, and about supporting those that have poor access to care. So we support all cancers, and you might think, well, that's a pretty slide, and it is pretty. Someone's gone with Wordle, is it Wordle? WordPress, whatever it's called, where you make the word clouds. But actually, I think one of the important things about the Cancer Society is we support everybody with cancer. We don't have a certain flavour, and we're quite proud of that. We're like the Switzerland of the many different cancer charities. We look after everybody. So our new centre, which we're really excited about, isn't just an accommodation site. It is a facility to provide cancer services for Ototahi and the wider area. We have many things on my death by PowerPoint that we're quite proud of. One of the things I'd like to point out today as someone who used to work in the hospitals as a radiation therapist is we're looking at implementing what we're calling a park and ride system to support cancer patients to come to us and use our shuttles to get to treatment. We haven't quite figured out how to do it yet without filling up the North Park shopping centre, but we recognise that one of the biggest stresses people face with accessing cancer treatment is actually accessing a hospital. Personally, I've dealt with farmers who can deal with $500,000 debts on their farm and the day-to-day stresses, and I've seen them cry because getting a car park is the hardest thing they do. So I think it's really important we support them with that, and I'm really excited about that initiative, so I guess I'm highlighting that personally. We're also going to have groups and programs run from our centre and from churches and community halls across Christchurch, and they're really important. We really want to create a space that's open to everybody, and I can't name them, but we're looking at bringing some other cancer charities into our building as well, and so we're just waiting to sort out some lease arrangements there. But a lot of cancer services in New Zealand are based out of Auckland or Wellington and don't necessarily have a physical presence locally, and we want to offer that opportunity to provide a true cancer service. We may have our daffodil on the front door, but the centre won't be the Cancer Society's centre. It'll be the Cancer Centre for Canterbury. And we're working in partnership with the likes of St George's as well to provide some more services there too. We want to ensure our services are culturally appropriate, and we've got some great partnerships that are helping us grow that. I guess the benefits in this slide reflect more around the centre, but I just want to highlight a couple of things in here that we're quite proud of. Our services are free. We don't get government funding. We rely completely on donations, and that enables us to provide the services that are needed, not the services that are constrained in a contract. Don't get me wrong, some funding would be really helpful, but actually for a lot of people, it's not the treatment that is the hardest thing to deal with. It's the bits that come around treatment. It's about the financial implications of not working or reduced work. If anyone watched Paddy Gower last week, a lot of it's around getting to treatment and the impact that has. It's around their social issues. Some people and some cultures, it's still taboo to talk about cancer. It's about having a safe space and safe people they can talk to. It's about getting the information they need. When I trained as a RT, they told us that a patient hears about 10% of what they're told when they meet with a doctor that first time. You know, I've got cancer, I'm going to have this much treatment, and this is my likely outcome. All the other stuff they'd miss. And it's about giving the opportunity to sit down and listen. We're not funded for 10-minute appointments. We're funded to listen and support and awhi people through their journey. And I'm quite proud of that, and that's one of the reasons I'm here today, but here in the organisation is a service we provide are unique but very important. People will stay with us for up to, it says 5 weeks, it's actually up to 7 weeks. Some people will be staying for treatment. It's a long time away from home. You know, we've got people at the moment from the coast, from Nelson Marlborough and right down to Invercargill, as there's some real access issues in Dunedin Hospital at the moment. We have our driving service, which many of you will know about, and we have the shuttle service, which we're quite proud of too, and as I said, will help develop this park and ride service. And I just want to recognise the council staff that have supported us to utilise those bus lanes as we're effectively a bus, which is grand. We have a long-standing partnership with you all, and I want to thank you for that. Some of it's around the cancer prevention strategy work, around Sun Smart, around smoke-free, and for many of us, smoke-free doesn't even seem like a relevant conversation, but it wasn't that long ago. It was a big thing, and Christchurch City Council got right behind us and the work of the wider Cancer Society to reduce the instances of cancer and make it pretty nice to sit outside at a pub, which I appreciate too. So we have around 50 staff. It's not 50 FTE, it's 50 heads really, and we're quite proud that we have far more volunteers. Around 800 in the wider Waitaha area, several thousand across New Zealand, South Island. Our volunteers are our lifeblood. They're the amazing people that bake, that drive, that visit, that support, that stand outside shaking tins in a couple of weeks for us, but equally will build relationships. We've got an op shop in Queenstown that support us, and our volunteers are our lifeblood. And they are the people that people remember when they go through the cancer journey, for the support they get from people that may have been like them or may just see the good in supporting others. As I mentioned, we aren't directly funded by the government, though we did get some shovel-ready funding for our new build. It is still roughly sitting on budget, which is quite grand. It's not sitting on time, which is quite normal. Turns out windows need to fit in holes. So we're looking to open in September. We did get I think it's called CPU, Certificate of Public Use, unofficially the other day, and I think that comes through next week, which is exciting, which means the build becomes ours rather than Cook's Construction, and we're looking to fill our motels with stuff so that we can open mid-September, which will be really exciting. If anyone wants to buy a motel, we've got a couple for sale. We'd really appreciate that. It would make the whole thing easier. You could do it on the side while you're a councillor, I'm sure. And we also have our More Precious campaign, which is really helping us. People, and I'm one of those people, I think, far prefer to give towards a tangible item rather than just give money. And We've sold out of toasters and jugs, which is awesome. And, we're looking to fill our new accommodation centre that way. We're not bringing the old with us, and we're doing that on purpose. People deserve to be looked after in a nice environment and when they're away from home, and want to support that. And thank you again to Council for some of the supports and some of those companies that work with you and have worked with us for their support too. I've just got a couple of photos because when you do Death by PowerPoint, you should show what you're talking about. So this is, I think, about 3 or 4 days old. It is really coming along. We, as I said, are looking to get our build handed over to us next week, maybe the week after. And at that point, we're fitting it out. We can't wait to get people in there. And I should actually recognise the councillor and the mayor who have been to visit and would welcome all of you to come along. From next week, you can actually come along. At the moment, you have to wear a hard hat and boots, which you probably had to wear, did you? Yep. You can if you want. It's your choice. But no one else will be. We'd love you guys to come along and visit. We're very proud of it. It's a great facility for Christchurch. And I think the other thing to recognise too, I think, is it's kind of cool that it's not another thing for the centre part of Christchurch. I think it's going to be great in drawing people into the Papanui area. Personally, I'm going to spend a lot of money at Kmart, but it's also really good for the people of that area too. We've had some local companies come to us in the last couple of days looking to support us because they really see that investment in the area. So thank you for your time, and thank you for considering our application. And if there's any questions, fantastic.
Well, we've got 20 seconds. Is there any questions? We've got time for one quick one. But it doesn't appear to be. Is it? Oh, Tyler?
I just wanted to shout out, actually. Craig was a Selwyn District Councillor back when I was working at the council, and he was actually one of my mentors, funnily enough, with the Youth Council. So big shout out to you, man. It's so cool to see you doing awesome, mate.
Kia ora, Tyler. Thanks.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Tyler. All right. And now we welcome Phil Marshall-Lee from the Canterbury Brain Collective. Morena.
Morena, good morning, kia ora, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about Braintree today. The picture tells the story. It's a beautiful building, and if you haven't been, we welcome you to come. We've been open for just over a year now, so it's been an incredible first year, and we're very excited about where we're headed. We have had some incredible support from a lot of different organisations to allow us to fill what is essentially a multi-tenant building with a whole bunch of different charities who are all connected with brain health. So Braintree is a wellness centre for brain health, and it's the first of its kind in New Zealand and Australia. In fact, we would challenge anyone to tell us if there's another Braintree type facility anywhere globally. So it is unique, and we're very proud of that, and we are extremely excited about what we can offer. Braintree, the people or the organisations on the slide there sort of tells you who we are really, but it was really set up by two organisations, Dementia Canterbury and Multiple Sclerosis and Parkinson's. 3 or 4 years ago, the collective was established, and then Braintree, the vision, was born, and now we have a brand new facility which the local community in Canterbury is enjoying the many benefits of. The two organisations are shareholders in Braintree, and since they came on board, we've had other like-minded organisations like Stroke Foundation, Aspire Canterbury, and a whole host of others who are now joining. So the entity is building momentum, and we are currently 98% occupied. So the first year has gone incredibly well for us. Why support Braintree? Well, I guess the first thing I would like to say is that you've already done that. So as a council, we thank you for your very generous grant that you gave us a couple of years ago to help us establish the building, and that was really, really fantastic, and we do thank you for that. We are the first of our kind, as I said earlier, and that, I think, puts us in a unique position, which is something I'm very proud of, to be involved with the organisation. And I think as a city, as a community in Canterbury, we should all be very proud of what we've actually achieved. And most of New Zealand doesn't actually understand yet who we are and what we're doing, but they're very, very quickly finding out. So I think the penny is dropping, and you will see similar sorts of entities establish themselves across New Zealand, indeed Australia, and probably further afield. We're getting a lot of inquiries from other parts of the country and indeed overseas. It's really all about helping people with neurological conditions. So think Parkinson's, think stroke, think dementia, those kinds of neurological conditions. We are here to help those people live well in the community. So if you think about people who are in the hospital or in medical clinics, that's the clinical side. And if you think about people living with these conditions who might be in a rest home or a residential care facility, that's the other end of the spectrum. Where Braintree comes in is the big piece in the middle, which is currently a void in the community. So we fill that gap by providing a community-led, community-driven entity which allows people with these conditions to live a better life, because they can come to Braintree and feel very welcome, feel non-threatened with their conditions, and their carers, their whānau, their support groups will also come and actually experience what we can offer them, which currently you can't do that. And I think that's really important for us. So we do focus holistically on brain health. So it's all about sleep, nutrition, wellness, physical exercise, cognitive stimulation, etc., etc. So there's a whole bunch of things that we do on site. This is just to give you a little bit of an indication of the quality of the building and the facility that's there for the wider community. Central to the Braintree Centre is the CAF in the very distance there, which is absolutely the heart and soul of our building, and it's fully open to the public. But of course, we cater primarily for people with those conditions. But everybody's welcome, and the local community is now getting in behind us, which is great. So we do offer a lot. I've sort of mentioned some of those points already, but I think the key point is that we are very different. And there is no place in New Zealand or Australia that can do what we're doing right now. And the feedback we're getting from the medical sector and the wider community is just, oh my God, we wish you guys were here 10 years ago when my mother had Parkinson's or my father had dementia. It would have been fantastic to have a facility like this where you could help us. It is a multi-tenant environment, so we have a lot of different charities under the one roof, and that enables all those organisations to work together to provide better facilities and offerings to the community. So it is actually quite cool what we're doing. We have some pictures here just to show you. There is a full retail shop where you can buy mobility services and products such as frames and wheelchairs, etc. We have a fully enabled gym on site for specialist programs. We have a studio for all kinds of activities, from yoga, Pilates to arts and crafts to meetings and educational sessions, what have you. We've also got some meeting rooms which allow us to do all sorts of things for the community. I just want to talk briefly about our numbers. We have actually raised over $6 million through the likes of your good selves and other community organisations and private individuals to enable us to build the building. It was a circa $8 to $10 million building, and we raised a lot of money to do that. There was a lot of in-kind contribution to help us establish the building as well, but we did actually take on a loan from Rata for about $1 million, which we have to pay back over the next few years. Each year we only manage to raise true income to run the facility of about $260,000, which is the heavily subsidised rent that we charge all of our tenants in the building. So think $250 a square metre. The premises is absolutely able to charge $450 a square metre commercially, so it's heavily subsidised for the tenants, and we've done that deliberately so that we can get those other charities on board and help them achieve their goals. To run the building, to run the centre, to run Braintree is about $550,000. So that gives us a gap of about $280,000, which we have to fundraise every year. So we're really, really appreciative of support, but we need more support, obviously, to achieve that. Some quotes from professionals in the industry who are just blown away with what we do. This gentleman's from Oregon University, and it's kind of simple what we're trying to do, which is to help people to live well by eating really well, by sleeping well, keeping up the physical activity and the social connectivity, etc. And that's starting to really change for people. I don't know what's happened to this slide. Let's try again. It's not lined up, but basically the point of the slide is to tell you that throughout the course of our lives, on average 1 in 2 women and 1 in 3 men are more likely to develop a neurological condition of some sort, and that trend is growing. So if you don't know someone with these conditions, you probably will in your lifetime. Some more pictures of our building. We do have a beautiful premises and right around the Papanuri Reserve, which our locals absolutely love. And again, we thank you for your support with the reserve. The tree planting that's gone on recently, I think the Mayor was there. It was fantastic to see all the progress there, and our local community absolutely love it. Dr. Matthew Croucher, who's the chair of Dementia New Zealand, has really singled us out as being an organisation that is filling a need that's been there for years, but no one's ever done it. So, you know, the CDHB or Te Whatu Ora cannot do this, so somebody's got to do it, and that's why we're here as a community-centred organisation. We have had a fantastic journey, and we are just so grateful for the support we've had. And these are some of the organisations who've been right there at the beginning and continue to be there with us on our journey, and we're just incredibly grateful for them, including the Christchurch City Council. But we do need more support, so we would encourage you to consider our application, because we think we are compelling, we think we're unique, and there is no other place like us right now in New Zealand, which we should all be proud of. So thank you.
Thank you. What an amazing looking building. Well done.
Do come and visit us.
Yeah, look at the location. Mike, so do people come and just stay for a short term? What's the story there?
Yeah, so we're open weekdays. People come for short sessions, usually an hour, possibly. But what we try and encourage them to do is to stay on and have a cup of coffee afterwards or before, or have lunch. So it's a really relaxed, welcoming environment where there are no rules and everybody's welcome.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. That brings us to the agenda items. Oh, there's no petitions. So item